Hello. Welcome to another episode of Lost Legations. I'm your host, Brother Mike. Thank you guys for following us on all our social media handles, and thanks for listening to us wherever you get your podcast. Please, if you've not left us a review, go ahead and do that, especially if you're on Apple. Please leave us a review in the review section. It goes a long way. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers in the house. Today, we're going to be talking about the dichotomy of fatherhood. It's a two-part problem. One of them being the government and societal perception of fatherhood. The second problem is actually more of a self-inflicted. According to the recently completed US Census, 19.5 million children, 1 out of 4, live without a father in the home. Basically, fathers are not around. You might want to ask yourself, why aren't fathers around? What's going on? And this is not an episode where we'll unpack all of that, but we can begin to talk about these things so we can better appreciate fathers, especially in light of the fact that today is Father's Day. First and foremost, young girls need their fathers. In fact, 90% of homeless and runaway girls, including girls that are into child prostitution, girl slavery, and sex trafficking, are from homes without fathers. 71% of high school dropouts are from homes without fathers. The suicidal rate of youth is actually pretty high, and 63% of youths happen to come from homes without fathers. According to Michael Lamb, one of the leading researchers from the 80s in child development, fathers are the forgotten contributors. Data shows overwhelmingly that fathers are very, very important. And Father's Day should not be the only time we remember fathers. In fact, a lot of research suggests that children in homes where the fathers were present end up having more cognitive and motor skills. They're better problem solvers. They have elevated physical and mental health, and in general, they're actually more curious, so they tend to do better in the society. Now, one problem with fathers not being in such homes actually comes from the government, especially in the Western Hemisphere, places like the US or Canada or even the UK. Now, there's an article by Ashley Nellis. She's a PhD. She wrote for sentencingproject.org. According to Ashley Nellis, Black Americans are incarcerated in state prisons at nearly 5 times the rate of white Americans. Basically, 1 in 81 black adults in the US is serving time in state prison. Now, the state of Wisconsin happens to lead the nation in this unfortunate statistics, where 1 in every 36 black Wisconsinian is in state prison. So another factor is also with divorce. 80% of divorces are initiated by women, and men have nowhere to go in most cases. When men try to get over their grief prematurely without processing it, it oftentimes manifests in several ways. And a lot of it are actually destructive. Like, they get angry, they get violent, and they end up taking to alcohol and substance abuse. And if this becomes prolonged, it affects the man's ability to see and spend time with the children that they had with that divorce, leading to more unresolved loss and grief. Whereas with women who go through divorces, a lot of them have family to talk to, they have friends to talk to. The society is more supportive and more acceptance of women when they go through this. Whereas men, they kind of seem as losers. They end up feeling like visitors in the children's life, especially if the mom is taking the lead in parenting. Part of it is that men are master compartmentalizationists. So basically, men compartmentalize problems. Now, that's good because that helps us solve problems. And it also helps because that's how men work and function in society, in their jobs, in their day-to-day life. So they just compartmentalize things and say, well, this belongs here, and that really hurts them not able to better integrate in a situation like divorce, as well as in the criminal justice system. Speaking of the justice system, most men do not know they have children because the laws allow women to have kids and not even tell the man if they don't want to. So it's possible for a man to be with a woman one night and if she gets pregnant, the man may not even know. And in some states, research has shown that some women lie on the birth certificate of the child, so they can put another guy or put no father, and the man may not even know until many, many years later, if at all. 17 million kids right now are growing up without a father in the United States. So if you look at the divorce court, in most cases, women automatically by default get the children. So men are removed from the family by the divorce court system. Some of these fatherless situations are actually inflicted by the women who detest the fathers, who don't want the fathers around, who themselves do not have a father in their life to tell them that the role of the father is very important. So you have situations not just in America, in different parts of the world, in Africa, whereby women do not want the kids to see the father because women don't know the role and the significance that father is going to play in the life of the child. So they deprive the child of the benefit of having a father around because of whatever vendetta they have against the father. And nobody does anything about that. But at the end, like they say, when two elephants fight, the grass suffer. The kids end up suffering. In parts of the world where you have a social net system, single mothers actually get a check from the government if the father is not around. So if there's no father, there's no boyfriend or husband that the child can call a father, the government will reward you and give you monthly food stamps or weekly paychecks or whatever, so you can be able to take care of the kids. So in a way, this is a reverse incentivization to actually not want the father in their lives, because if I get the man in my life, the man is actually not very useful. So what do I need him for? I'm better off just taking a government check and not having a guy in my life if I know the check is steady and the check is consistent. The mom does this, but the kids end up paying the price of not having a father around. Then later on, the kids get older and they're like, where's my dad? They start asking questions, and ultimately the kids end up finding and knowing who their father is. There's something called the tender year doctrine, which says that children under age 4 automatically go with their mom. So if a man is lucky, get the visitation rights every other weekend. Custody orders and paternity laws have not actually been favorable to men. Between 1960 and 2016, the number of children living without their fathers tripled. Now it's at 23%. So that's about 1 in 4 children are living without their fathers. It is legal for mothers to conceal their pregnancy and never tell the father. They can hide the pregnancy from him, they can deceive him. Men don't really know much or care much about paternity tests. And because of how men are wired to trust and be gullible, a lot of men don't even ask until when it's too late. Most men are hopeless romantics, generally speaking, and fall in love hard. And women have this sixth sense. They can perceive things without them being said, but not all men do. They are not instinctive as women are. While it's illegal, actually, you can go to jail for removing a child from the mother. It's legal for a young lady to conceal her child from the father, which hurts the child because the child will end up without having a father in their life. Society is also a contributor because society doesn't really talk about these things. In middle school and high school and in most learning institutions, boys are more diagnosed with things like ADHD. A lot of boys are diagnosed with some conditions, which a lot of times, some of that is just because boys are not well understood in society. In school, you have a lot of women in the teaching sector, and women are actually more teachers of boys. And most boys, especially ones without fathers in their families, don't even know how to behave properly. And for most of their life, even up to the university and tertiary institutions, they are being taught by women. Then also the public school doesn't help either. A lot of public school, sometimes they are considered as a public school indoctrination camp because the boys that are there are mostly taught by women because most women go into teaching. So they're no role model of what men look like, and most kids might never, especially the one without a father in the family, come in contact with what a true man should be, what a honorable man should be. And as fathers or as grandfathers, I think it's really important that we teach our children outside of the school system what it means to be a man, how a man is supposed to take care of a woman, and the role of a man in the society. So boys are somewhat a bit becoming mysterious and harder to understand, especially if the father is not in the family. To an extent, men too. So if you remember the movie Titanic, or in any case where there's a war, women and children are prioritized. And I get it, women are feeble, and I'm not here defending us not protecting our women and children, but because women take care of the children, we need the children, and men are considered to be disposable. Again, with today being Father's Day, I feel like we can talk about men and how to better protect men. Men in society are getting to a point where they're more disposable. Black men are getting locked up left and right, getting killed in daylight in the West. So these are real issues. Today's Father's Day, and this is just, again, shout out to all the dads in the house, shout out to all the dads in the building. We appreciate you. I myself am a father, and I have a lot of friends that go through these challenges. I have a lot of friends who are dealing with the society. I have a lot of friends who are dealing with the divorce court system. Talking about health, right? This is the second piece. So we just talked about the one part whereby the system, the court system, the judicial system, the divorce system is in a position whereby it doesn't benefit men. Now, the second part of that dichotomy is regarding health. There's an article by Dr. Showe Mimo of CentraState Healthcare System. I'm going to link to that in this podcast. Heart disease is number one killer of Americans. But if you notice, since the 1970s, the rate of heart disease has been steadily decreasing among white Americans. However, the rates are not decreasing among African Americans. African American men, especially aged 18 to 49, are 2 times more likely to die of heart disease than white Americans. Talk about number 2 killer of all races, that's cancer. African American men are 50% more likely than white men to get lung cancer. More African American men experience issues such as enlarged prostate cancer. So there's the Tuskegee experiments and the distrust of doctors, especially in the United States, and that has deterred a lot of those from going for medical checkup and physical checkups. In fact, they don't want to do that. And even with the recent COVID-19 coronavirus, a lot of black men did not want to go and get the vaccine. This is the dichotomy we're talking about, because these are things that are self-inflicted. Like, the system does not favor men, the court doesn't, the government doesn't, the police doesn't. But then the health side of it, whereby men could take care of themselves, a lot of men actually have this distrust of doctors, where, especially in the African American community, they don't really want to go see a doctor even when they're sick. Diabetes is another one. It's an area for concern for a lot of blacks. Actually, according to data, they are twice as likely to be diagnosed with diabetes. On top of that, African Americans suffer complications from diabetes much more than any other race. So you think about it, a lot of African American men end up with end-stage renal disease and, in some unfortunate cases, lower extremity amputations, because they don't take care of their health, because they are busy making money or busy doing other things. So I recognize that we have a global audience. Thank you all for listening all around the world. However, I just want to let you know that the word African American can be interchanged with black men. So if you are not in America, but you're of African descent, this applies to you. It's just some of the data we use is from the USA. Today's Father's Day, and it's not meant to be a grim conversation, but the idea is just to know all these things and talk about it so that we can talk to our fathers if we have one in our life, or talk to men in our life to take their health very, very seriously. Other things as stroke, for example, it impacts African Americans more than any other race. Even at a younger age, sadly, they are twice as likely to die from stroke than Caucasians, and are more likely to become disabled and experience difficulties with daily activities if they were to survive a stroke as black men. It's kind of sad that this is happening, but a lot of men are not paying attention because they're busy working, they're not taking care of their health. Another one is alcohol consumption. Like, people, especially in the African American or African community, drink a lot. Or moshayo, hard liquor, like things that really, really damage your liver and your kidney. And these substances are toxic, and excessive use of alcohol destroys. But most men turn to that because of the other issue that I highlighted, which is the government, the society, the wife, the divorce court, and everything. So there's nothing else to turn to. Instead of turning to friends and other method of coping, men use substances that actually end up making the health worse. There's also the use of drugs, hard drugs. That's all I have for today. Thank you for listening. Please follow us on Twitter if you're not already following us on Twitter. And a big happy Father's Day to you all, wherever you are. Sorry, this was a little grim. I think with today being Father's Day, while we celebrate our fathers and give them gifts and stuff, we also need to appreciate their presence in our life. And for those men out there who have a lot of kids without a father around them, be a father to the fatherless. Shout out to all the fathers. Thanks for all you do. It's very important. We need fathers. And if you know a father, just turn around and wish him a happy Father's Day and let him know that you really, really appreciate him being there. And if you are a man, find somebody who's without a father and just try to be a father to them. Thank you for listening. Appreciate it. A cool neighbor Joe. We'll catch you next one. Bye.